Yeah. So I'm in Germany. just say that. And it is, as I said, I'm outside because it looks warm, but it's not. But I'm literally so sick of being inside. I'm sure everybody else can relate to that as well. Okay, so let's start the session, but let me just be very frank with you. This is very informal. It's more conversational. There isn't like, a presentation of sorts, but it will think, in terms of that job search mentality. And we're going to really focus on the real reason why you get hired as well. So I am just going to, there's 9 of us on the call, so I'm just going to see if I can. All right, okay, 1 second before we begin. I'm going to, okay, that should be fine. Okay, so let me just start with the agenda. I've actually wrote a few things down there. So the agenda is going to be, for some of you, you already know who I am, but for others, you might not so. So I'm just going to very briefly describe, what I do, how with the current climate, things could be changing and changing in particular for the job search. Number 3 is the problem that we've got with the traditional job search. Yeah, so this is, to me, is the big thing, and this is going to be quite useful in the way that you want to kind of look at changing your mindset, because half the time we're told, okay, job search is kind of this one way, and I'm saying actually you can take a lot of control over the way that you ultimately get yourself hired, and it's those people that are willing to stand out are going to really be the ones that are probably going to find it a lot easier. So I'm going to kind of go through that. I am going to see if I can, if you could, if it's possible, can a couple of people just maybe mute yourself? Just might make it easier. Okay, if you can just mute, and then we will, at the end of this session, we will have we'll have a conversation about any questions that you might have. Right, okay, so we're going to look at the problem with the traditional job search model. We're going to look at the killer mistake that people seem to be making, and how we can kind of overcome this, and how you're going to motivate yourself, okay, in this climate, okay, and the minimum, and it is the minimum, the building blocks that you need to go forward. And we'll also kind of look at, the nice things to have, and it could be the difference, yeah, moving away from the traditional job search to being more proactive. Okay, so we've got a lot to cover, and then we'll have a Q&A if anybody's got any questions, and we'll go from there. So who am I? Well, I help people to get clients and companies chasing you. I focus very much on working with executives. And I also work with consultants and, that freelancer market that's looking for that next role, okay? And my background is I used to work in Liverpool in the UK, and then I moved to London, and I was kind of shocked. And if anybody's from the UK, you will understand this, that I was actually paid less, or they wanted to pay me less than Liverpool, which I just thought was just horrendous. And so I realized straight away then that I needed to change things and build my brand, okay? Build my brand in order to get companies and clients chasing you. And because I did that, when I did get to London, it's like 4.5 hours away in a car. But when I did get there, I hadn't realized, but my name was known, and I was able to, within 6 months, I was able to kind of get a job. I wasn't interviewed for that job. I was, somebody'd know me, put me forward for it. And then I was working, doing some careers work, and part of that work was actually going into the cabinet office as well. Okay. So I was able to negotiate a 4-day week. It was brilliant on paper. But ultimately what I realized is that I wasn't happy, and as a career coach, that's quite ironic, okay? So on paper, the job looked fantastic, but for me personally, it wasn't kind of filling enough, because I actually wanted to start my own business. So that's where things started to change for me. Okay. So we're gonna, focus, in terms of how we can make this also work for you as well. Okay. So the crisis, as you know, how has it been? This is not just one way. I can hear that there's a question here. How has it been for people? Yeah, I agree with that. Nothing beats, yeah, you're totally right.
I have some problem with, I can hear you, Susan. I can hear you so well.
Oh, you can't hear me or you can hear me?
So-and-so, your voice is
that the same with other people, or is it just... I hear you fine. You hear it fine. Okay, it could be the internet with everybody. I know, for example, in the UK, the internet is horrendous because everybody's at home. So it might be there's so many people at home and they're all trying to use the internet. But I've been told that it's okay by others, unless there's another problem.
I think it's because somebody who joined wasn't muted and you could hear children in the background.
Ah, okay. So do me a favor, by all means speak. But if you don't want to, yeah, I think that's a good point. Just to mute yourself.
Off and on their mute there, like.
Yeah. I know I should be able to do it myself, but I'm not really. Let's see.
That's in the settings if you want.
Yeah, it is in the settings. Let's have a little look.
You asked Susan how I'm doing like this. I have a prediction that when this is done, and this is going to end, things are going to go back to normal.
Yeah.
All those people who were all big raving fans of remote work are maybe going to have a bit of a reckoning.
Well, we can talk about that. Okay, we'll talk about that at the end of the session.
I'm not denying it has its advantages. But you are kidding yourself if you are just as productive at home. I mean,
oh my God, it's awful at home at the moment. I've got the whole family here. Get me out of here. I'm not going to lie that it's productive, is it? Hell, it's awful. Oh my God, I'm at the moment trying to find an Airbnb to get away. Yeah. I might be, it's horrendous at home. Yeah. I've literally had to say I've got a 20-month-old baby, yeah, and I am just praying for the nurseries to come back.
I am looking forward to when this is over, all those gurus on LinkedIn that love this video about like working from home and giving people like this, shut up.
Yeah, it is shut up. It's majorly shut up. But it's the thing I've realized is that you've got to have a routine for this, and yeah. I would be totally honest, if I didn't have help, somebody looking after baby, this would just absolutely not be possible. This call wouldn't be possible. It's just too hard. Yeah.
I also have another full appreciation for elementary school teachers and what they do.
It's out of this world. I've always said that I could never do their job. Never ever do their job. Yeah. Never ever. I can't do the lady's job that's looking after James now. So, I mean, my hat is off to them. Yeah. But everybody's got their own superpower and we just need to go with that. But I totally agree. I'm basically stuck. I make it look, let me be very frank with everybody. I'm making this look. Let me just show you. Yeah. So today, this is outside in the garden and I'm making it all look nice and pretty. But the reality is that I'm absolutely stuck upstairs, stuck in a bedroom, got quite a big house, but still stuck in my bedroom. Yeah. Because if I go downstairs and upset James, then that's my son, there will be murder. Yeah. So although that I'm painting this picture all serene, it is not the case. And I'm not going to lie to anybody. So I'm glad that you've mentioned that, Mark. So we are going to look with the traditional job search model. We are going to be looking at the killer mistake that people are making and how you can get more visible, and the things that you need to be thinking about in terms of those building blocks. So I think I've mentioned who I am and what I do, but, I think, Mark is correct. It is absolutely impossible working from home when you've got a huge family, or I haven't got a huge family, I've got one son, but it's very difficult. Yeah, it is incredibly difficult to do this. I think the routine is key, and I think in Germany, we're on the 3rd week of this, and I'm eventually figuring this out. If I don't have a routine or try to control my day in some particular way, it simply doesn't work. But let's look at the problem with traditional job search. So you know, would people agree with this? That, you know, back in the day, and I would say maybe 20 years ago, that the way that we got hired was really through, you know, the newspaper. Yeah. Does anybody remember this? Yeah. By all means, switch your, you know, your volume back on. But, you know, you remember it. Yeah. Thumbs up. So we got hired through, you know, a newspaper. We'd circle a job, we'd apply for it, but it's very much kind of you're reacting. You're not taking charge of that. Now, the great news is actually you can take a lot more ownership of your own job search, right? So although things have changed, we can actually look at it as a positive, okay? Because you are now in control. It doesn't always have to be one way, where you see a job and you apply for that job. And if we come back to the real reason why you get hired, and why I feel that many, you know, CV writers get this completely wrong, is that we focus on what we've done. It's kind of like, you know, the kitchen sink. Yeah, we put everything that we've possibly done in this CV, in this resume, and saying, okay, I've done this. But actually, you need to re-engineer the process, because you only get hired because the company has a problem. So what I'm saying to you is there's no such thing as a perfect CV or resume. If there's any Americans here, there is not. I am going to be very honest with you now. You will always, always need to adapt your CV or your resume to the job you are going for. And a lot of people make that mistake. So they don't recognize that when you create a CV, it's not about what you've done. It's about why in some senses, you're the ultimate reason. You need to be proving why you are the solution to the problem that they have. And if you can't answer the problem, that you don't know what problem that they have, then you get made redundant. Yeah. So every company, whether it's voluntary, whether it's private business organ or a government, they must have a problem, or you don't get hired. Yeah. So even if you're looking at the voluntary sector and you know, if you're recruiting volunteers, there's a reason why they are required. Yeah. If you look at the academic, the situation in the UK at the moment, they put a register together, NHS register, for, you know, the target, I think was, I don't know, I'm going to be wrong here, maybe it was 300,000, I think it was 270,000 volunteers that they wanted to help in this crisis. They got more than that, okay? They got a more and more people, but there was a problem, and therefore they are seeing themselves as that solution, okay? So when you create a CV, or you create a LinkedIn profile, or you create anything, your goal is to specify the ultimate result that you deliver. And often we talk about it very vaguely, or we just give fancy adjectives, okay? So that's one of the big problems that I see. Yeah, where we are very kind of reserved. Yeah, in terms of we are not, we wait till a company's got a problem and we reach out to them. Yeah, so they advertise, and then we put our CV together and we send it across to people. And ultimately what you want to be thinking about is you need to start looking at your CV and say to yourself, is this CV simply a collection of what I've done, or does it clearly show the solutions, the problems that I'm able to solve for this particular company? Okay, that is really the way that you want to be thinking about it. And if you think of it this way, you are 10 steps ahead of everybody else. Now, this is quite funny, and I don't mean to be very rude, but I used to work in schools. Okay, I used to work in schools, and I used to do career advice for like sixth formers. So if anybody doesn't understand that, it means people that are around 17 or 18 years of age. Okay, and one of the things that they would need is a CV, a resume to get them the first job. And this is kind of funny, maybe not, okay? But the reality that I quickly realized is that children were making the same mistakes as directors in the way that they were promoting themselves to get themselves hired. So what I'm trying to say to you is that we haven't really been taught how to write a CV or how to really do job search. And everybody's CV tends to be average, okay? It tends to be average. Everybody's the same. But the issue is the higher that you go up in your job, then you need to be showcasing why they should be paying a lot of money for you. Okay, you are a service. Let me explain what I mean by that. They can't try out. They can't go, okay, here's a Mars bar, let's taste it. Yeah. In order to hire you, they've got to pay you. They've got to make a big investment to purchase you. Okay. And that's a big problem, because you are given basically the same type of CV out that everybody else is doing and looks the same, sorry to tell you, like an 18-year-old that's going for that first job, okay? Because we haven't figured out, it's not just reeling out what we've done in our career, it's really focusing on the ultimate result that you deliver. Okay, does that make sense for people? You by all means type in the chat box what I've just been talking about, or turn your volume back on.
What you're saying, and Susan, you've worked on a CV of mine, and
yeah,
but it still comes about really challenging on places like LinkedIn or even in your CV, where it's really hard unless you've got a dialogue with somebody. I find unless you have a dialogue, I can't possibly know what's in your head and your heart.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Okay, yeah, I hear you. So right. Okay, so this is what I want you to think about. Okay, so people that are further along in this process, the way that I like to think about it is it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle piece. Yeah. So one of the things that you could be thinking about, and I know that you're quite active, Mark. What, by the way, happened with that consultancy gig that you were going towards?
Thank you for that. I got a small gig.
Yeah.
Then they went silent. I'm on the roster. I don't think of it as a loss in any way at all, because now I have an asset that I can use.
Okay. Later. Okay. So the thing is that, follow-up is key. Yeah. Obviously, it's a different ball game now, yeah, because it was being that facilitator role, and it's very unlikely we will be in close contact with anybody for a long while. Okay.
Yeah, challenging.
So we can look at it like that, but I think that for Mark particularly, you could be getting more visible in terms of you could be actually doing more kinds of like blogging, but making sure that your audience sees you, or going back to basics and making sure that what you want to do, there's a labor market, there is money there are jobs there. Yeah. So you need to go back to basics and say to yourself, okay, I'll give you an example, a very true example. In the UK, career coaches, particularly towards the government, they just got rid of them. They just said goodbye. Yeah, we don't need you anymore. And the reason why they did that, they do need them, but they just said we can't afford you. Okay, and then it was going to a crisis where you were on zero contract, 0 hours. Yeah, which is pretty awful. And I was like, no, I don't like this. So what I'm asking you to do is think about your own labor market, okay, and work out, is this still an area that I should be trying to continue to stay in, or should I be kind of looking at diverting somewhere else?
It's interesting that you say that. I've been spending actually the last week and a bit I went, cause I'm sort of, as you know, I kind of flip between independent consulting but I view myself frankly as an opportunist. I go where the opportunity is. So much of my career has been by jumping at different things because that's the way I've gone. But on the consulting side of things, I actually took the time of organizing a number of focus groups with past prospects and current prospects to say, why didn't we work together? And I was got some really great feedback. It's been a bit painful to do it, but at the same time worthwhile, because now I've mind mapped all the comments that have come in, and it's been of some 10 hours. Imagine that, 10 hours of discussions and all like that. It's quite, I finally finished it all last night. So that's a big thing.
Well, yeah. So you
to really get a sense of things. Cause I think you're right in the sense, we fall victim often enough to putting out what we think is valuable. Mm-hmm. And isn't it so true that sometimes what we think is valuable isn't necessarily what other people think is valuable?
Yeah. And you sometimes, like me, I had to at that point make a decision. Yeah. You know, do I stay within this market knowing that I'm lucky? Sounds like there's madness out here, doesn't it? Knowing that there's only a certain amount of hours available and I accept that, or do I need to jump ship and kind of look elsewhere? So I can't say that for you, Mark, because you're in a different country. Yeah. You need to look at, you need to think about it, long and hard. Yeah. But you've got some great advice there, or you've worked out, you've got some great comments, and you need to make, a decision to say, okay, can I reach out somewhere else where I can get paid more money, or there is better prospects where it doesn't feel that, for me, it felt like I was just continuously hitting a brick wall. Yeah. Yeah. And at some point you've got to say, do I continue this or do I move forward?
Something that's always easy for me is I'm not a flexible guy, but I noticed I'm starting actually a new role on April 6th, and it's sort of in line with what I've been doing in the past. It's a while back. It's
okay.
To that, so I'll be doing I'll be a media spokesperson for a major engineering project. Here in the Ottawa area, but it's been hard. I'll be honest with you, it's been hard because I'm taking a step back from the leadership role that I kind of been used to. So
So what is that telling you? Maybe you need to reassess all those roles in existence. And it was something that I had to take a long stab at it and say, okay, if I continue down this road, what are the job prospects really for me? And you might then go, okay, you make a decision. And I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't be the right person. So I'll say this from the start, if you're looking to change roles, change careers, you need to speak to a career transition or a career change coach. They're the best person, and somebody within your own country.
I'm glad you say. I've actually had a very in-depth conversation with someone I've worked. He's known me for years and all of that, and I recommend that to anybody, honestly.
I would say
a transition like this. I was the end of the conversation was that says, Mark, you're being too hard on yourself. This is actually not necessarily a complete change. It's just a slight pivot.
And it can be just a slight change. You might think it's major. But it could be just that slight tweak in a slightly different direction. And I'll give you an example. I'm just talking about me, but, my background was working with young people. And 6 years ago, I made the decision, no, I don't want to do that anymore. There isn't a market here anymore. I am now going to be focusing on director level, and that's what I do. Okay, that's why I can tell you that your CVs aren't that much difference. First, I was like, oh my God, I'm really scared. Then I went, there's no need to be scared anymore, Susan. They're all the same. I know that doesn't make you feel any better, but it made me feel better at the time. Okay.
Well, I mean, in my case, it just was a question. He said, look, I'm going through Yeah, I think I indicated to you in my sector, in my industry, it kind of goes through trends and phases where
Yeah.
I can't explain it. Hirers prefer one type of profile of a
Yeah.
person over another, and then it changes towards my favor. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
And then maybe, you know, there's not enough, for example, I know that you want to focus on associations. Maybe you say to yourself, okay, really, have I exhausted this? You know, do I need to now look at a different kind of, you know, job role? Okay. But using the same skill set. So, you know, I've had to go through that myself. So I know that's quite a painful situation, but you just need to, you know, you can still go for those roles, but you might just be also looking at other things as well. Yeah.
Well, or even just something as we kind of you go into the sidestep that's positioning you better for something down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But sometimes you have to have that welcome, you know, that wake up call and saying, okay, if I continue this, where is it going to take me? Yeah.
Susan,
Yeah.
Susan, could you list the biggest mistakes you read in the CV that you have already read?
The biggest mistakes that I see is that people will use adjectives. Okay, so they describe a situation. So like, I'll give you an example, like, I don't know, driven entrepreneur.
A practical example, I mean, a practical, really, really practical.
Yeah, practical. People are using,
okay.
So really what you want to think about, look at your CV, get your job description out. So if you're going for a job, this is what I'm going to advise you to do. Get the job description and ask yourself, here's the job description. Does it include this in my CV? You get a pen, yeah, and you tick it off. You know, whatever they've said, okay. Is it there? Is it in the cover letter? If it's not in the CV, have you mentioned the things that they're looking for? But the big thing that you need to look at is, you know, I can help you with doing your CV, okay? So it's done for you. And I would change it, as I said, the big thing that you need to be focusing on is that you need to change it from what it is that you do to more of a case of the solutions that you offer for that particular company. Okay, so you need to be looking at your CV in that particular way. And the next advice I would say to you is adapt the CV to each and every role that you apply for. Okay. So
and what did you think about the problem of the age? Because
the age, right? So many people say this to me. People will come to me, and many a times, yeah. But this is. I'm sure there's other people on this call that will say the same thing. That you know, I think it's my age, and often it's not your age. Yeah, which is good. Okay, but sometimes it's a case of what you're currently using is just not good enough. Yeah, it's just not good enough. You've got a CV that you did yourself maybe 3 years ago. You send it off to you send the same CV off or same resume off to every different company, and you're expecting results. And the way to evaluate, which is really good, I think there's just been a question that's popped through. The way to evaluate is if you're constantly sending your CV out and you're not getting results, then you need to ask the question why. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you would need to take another look at that CV. If you're sending something out and it's not getting the results, you need to relook at why that is. Okay. So the one other mistake that people tend to make is they tend to be really good. I'm just going to change that for a second. They tend to be really good within the job that they do. Yeah, they do a great job within that company. Yeah, I'm sure other people can feel this. Yeah, they're working in a company. They're doing this, a really good job in that company. But that's the problem. Nobody knows outside of those four walls that you're doing a great job. Yeah. So the people that you work with know you're fantastic, but that's it.
No, yes. Another problem is how much you earn. So the first question of the people when you ask for a new work, a new job, is how much you want, how much you want to, what do you want for do this job, and this it is another problem.
Yeah.
And,
then there's more reason why, right? The higher that you go up in the, the higher that you go up, in in the organization, or the more money that you make, then the more reason that the company needs to see that you are an asset and that you're the solution to what they're looking for. Okay, so ultimately, companies are looking for two things, or one of these two things. They're either looking to reduce costs or make more money. Particularly if it's private sector. And you could look at it in that basic way. So if they hire you, then what is it that they're trying to get from you? And it normally comes back to one of those two reasons. And so you need to go back. If you're doing your CV yourself, which is totally fine, but you just need to be critical. If you're sending something out and it's you're sending it time and time again, you need to be saying, okay, something may be not working the way it should be at this moment in time. Okay. And then you need to relook at that. So the big mistake that I see people making is that they do a great job within in the four walls that they currently work in, but that needs to be amplified outside those four walls. You need to be letting other people know as well, which kind of goes against what we're taught. So I'm basically saying you need to be making other people aware that that you do a good job outside of those four walls. That's what I'm trying to get at when I talk about that, because if people don't know that you're good outside of those four walls, then it makes it very difficult to get companies or clients to come to you. Okay, so the things that you might need to be thinking about in this current situation that we're in, okay, is that we can't the traditional way of going into the office or helping people to work is not going to work now. It's just not going to work. I'll give you an example, right? So my husband was trying to speak to I think it was a financial advisor, and he said to me, this was a couple of weeks ago, he's in some other country, he's struggling to get back. And I was like, but that doesn't stop him doing Zoom, does it? It doesn't stop him having a conversation on he doesn't need to be in person with us. He can have a conversation like this, for example. So you might need to be creative, in terms of how you work. So another example, I'll give you an example. Banks, for example, they are exploiting the situation. Particularly in the UK. I think Barclays they wrote to me saying, okay, you can have this loan or something, and then they were on the BBC this morning, which was basically saying that they were trying to exploit the situation and that they were trying to use the coronavirus to get people to sign up for debt, blah, blah, blah. But the point I'm making is that they would have had an urgent need for copywriters at that particular point in time. Okay? So they would have had an urgent need for copywriters, and they might have been, and that understands, finance and technical speak, and how to set the tone of that message. So what I'm trying to say to you is that they could have still needed help to fill that issue, to be able to have sent me that text message. I think it was a text message. Yeah, they did send me that text message. And then for that, you know, click on here for that to go to this web page. Yeah, they would have had to have had, you know, they would have had to have responded to that situation quite quickly to exploit what they're trying to do, which is get more people into debt. And to, I think they're saying, I think the BBC was talking about that they were trying to secure it against the house. Awful. Yeah. But the point that I'm trying to say is, just because we can't go into the office doesn't mean that you still can't get hired. Yeah. There will be demand for certain things. Okay. But you just might need to be a little bit more creative. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I think it was yesterday. I mean, I think it was maybe a couple of days ago. I said, I'm just going to do live streams. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not expecting anything else. I'm just going to do live streams. I'm just going to, you know, because at some point this is going to change. You know, so if I just do, you know, just talk about the live streams at this moment in time, then, you know, after the crisis is finished, you know, maybe people remember. But the other way to think about it as well is that, you know, this could also be the time that you get things done, or you do this because you are at home and you have got more time. Okay. But the point is that I'm working differently to maybe other people that might simply go, I'm shutting up shop. Yeah. So you need to be asking the question is, could there still be a demand for what you do? Yeah. And do you want to be the person that is, you know, do you want to be ready now, or do you want to be ready when everybody is fighting to get into that next role, you know, maybe 4 months time, and everybody's trying to run out the door and they're scrambling to get
ready.
Yeah.
we hope to be ready.
Yeah. So this is your opportunity. Yeah. So you might need to adapt, yeah, what you're doing. So David, I know, for example, David is a sales coach, and he might be, for example, doing webinars like I'm doing them. Yeah. Saying, you know, hey, I can, you know, just putting something out there and putting a webinar together and saying, hey, you know, thought this could be useful. Totally appreciate it might not be at this moment in time. Yeah. But it will be. And if you're sitting at home, you know, why don't you brush up on X, Y, and Z? Yeah. Because, you know, we can save the world by watching the TV. Staying at home. Yeah. That's all we need to do. Yeah. Stay at home. Yeah. So, you know, that's the biggest advice. So, you know, you just need to be thinking creatively, potentially maybe getting yourself ready. But there could be an example of where you could be doing something now. Not everybody, but, you know, you need to be looking at that. Right. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to my computer. Apologies, I'm just going to have to stand up because I can't see. The screen. Ah, there it is. Right. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, David's just agreed. I'm sorry that it took me so long. I can't see with the sun. But yeah, it's just about don't just fall victim to, because I was doing that the week before. I was feeling a bit down. Yeah, I was like, well, what's the point? Yeah. And I was completely and utterly like, my son, I mean, it's lucky, but he had, not lucky, doesn't sound right, but he had foot, mouth and hand disease, right? And actually, it sounds scary than it is. It's actually quite common in children. I didn't know, but it is. So what that meant is he was already home a week before the coronavirus. And actually now I'm thinking, brilliant little bear, I'm thinking to myself, because he wasn't, you know, mixing with the other children. And then and I was so excited the week after, because I was going, yes, he's going back in. And then my husband comes in and he goes, I've got some news. It's happened. I was going, no. Yeah, because I found it so hard to work at home just that week. Yeah. And I was feeling low, and I'm saying to you that you can look at this situation, try and find some positive to it, whatever that is. So I know, for example, you know, Mark, you know, he's got this opportunity to really rethink it. You know, does he stay within this labour market, or does he need to move out? You know, and when I say move out, it doesn't mean that he has to completely move to a new job. I didn't. I just just changed the age range. Yeah, I just said, okay, there's no market here for me anymore. I'm just going to move to a different age. Okay, that's all really that I did. Okay, so it doesn't need to be hugely drastic, but try your best to look at it and say, what are the opportunities? You know, for, again, David could be kind of literally saying, hey, you know, things will change. Yeah. People do need certain things. I will be very honest with you. My husband, he works in, he's a construction project manager. And if you're in the UK, construction for some reason is still happening, and he is still allowed to go out. Whether that changes, I don't know, but he's been told he must work. Yeah, if you don't work, then he would lose his job. So he can be going on site and different things like that. So what I'm trying to say to you is, yes, things have changed, but you just may need to adapt. Yeah. What things can you be thinking about? It could be that you look at training courses that you wouldn't have had time for before, and you brush up on some skills.
Again,
yeah. Hi, Larry.
Hours, because you already do that.
Say that again. Sorry. Oh, I just missed that, Larry. I think you said something. I didn't catch that, but it could be a case that you just look at this situation and do your best to put a positive spin on it. But David, you could be looking at like contacting maybe a few companies that you've worked with, saying, hey, is there any way that I can do private coaching with some people? Yeah, you might want to, you can reach out to companies. But you would need to tone the message in a clever way. Yeah. For example, it depends on what you're saying, but, you know, you might say, you know, with the coronavirus, you know, you might be short on key staff. I'm able to help, you know, at a moment's notice. Yeah. Obviously working from home. Yeah. You know, but there are going to be shortages of staff. Yeah. There is no doubt about that. There are going to be shortages of staff. One second. I must go. One second. Right. I nearly ended that. Right. What nearly happened was the umbrella nearly flew away. And it's a massive umbrella. So I don't know what damage that it could have done. I could have been killed by the umbrella, put it that way. And I've always said that I could die by this umbrella. Now my husband is coming out to sort it. So are there any other questions? We've hopefully that's been useful. If anybody wants to reach out to me, by all means do. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email. I sent you plenty. Come again for the next session, which is next Thursday. But if you do want more one-to-one work, please, you know, just email me. It's sue@thelinkedinsuccessacademy.com. I'm not really trying to do with sales here in any shape or form, but I just wanted to kind of, you know, put it out there. Okay, so if you need me, I'm here. But hopefully, just to clarify, things that I would do is look at it differently. We're in a completely different time. You know, my advice would be is to relook at how you work. You are going to be remembered now. Yeah, most people have gone to sleep. Yeah, look at, you know, how can you work differently, or reach out to people and say, you know, I can imagine with the coronavirus that maybe key personnel, you know, are not available at this moment in time. Maybe I can help. Another example, is it Patricia? I think that who works in kind of writing, editorial? I think I'm sure there's somebody in this group that does that, but you know, you can look at the likes of People Per Hour, Fiverr. I don't know if people have heard of them. They're kind of like, they will get you some work now. Yeah, if you're, you know, you desperately need something at this moment in time, but you know, it's not for the long term. You need to be thinking a bit more strategically than that. But David, go back to maybe key companies and say, okay, and you might need to put offers out there. You might need to say, okay, but be careful of how you phrase those offers. Yeah, you know, what is happening is so scary. You know, the amount of people that have died, you've got to be respectful of this. And you know, for maybe a lot of us here, the only thing that we've experienced is just being locked up in a room. Yeah, so although I'm a bit like, okay, I'm with my husband and the baby and they all drive me mad, that's the only thing that I've suffered. Yeah, so you've got to, whatever you do, make sure you phrase it, you know, delicately. Yeah, but if anybody needs any, you know, one-to-one help, reach out to me direct. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Fantastic. Well, hopefully I see you next week, and hopefully the weather is nice and the massive umbrella doesn't kill me this time. Okay. Take care, everybody. Okay. If you've got any questions, just let me know. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Susan.
Ooh. Sorry, say that again?
No, thank you so much. I have only a question.
Yeah.
Can I? Yeah, okay. What did you think? There are different until, for example, Italian work market and, for example, American work market. So it's very, very difficult for example, for me, think what could be much more useful write in my CV, for example, to be much more smart for people in USA or in Italy, because are very a very different situation.
Yeah,
so
obviously.
For example, if you say that you know a lot of film, it's not always a positive film.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you the way that I look at it is every company, you are right. There might be, you know, the way that we approach things might be slightly different. The biggest difference that I've seen in the way that people do CVs is by the Germans. Oh my God, the way they do it. And I can insult the German because I'm married to a German, okay? So, okay. And my son is German and English. So I can insult them all.
Perfect, yeah. So perfect question.
so yeah, I think you're correct in terms of there can be differences.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we still get hired because there is a problem, and you need to make sure that the way that you develop that CV, you are the solution to that problem. So I don't like the way the Germans do their CVs, and the Germans are very like, you must do it this way, yeah. However, we did do his, because it looks so different, yeah. we than the normal way, but we did try to keep it, you know, in some senses, you know, the way the Germans would do. So the Germans, they must have a picture, which I don't think is equal opportunities, but hey ho, right? So the picture still needed to be there, yeah. So we made sure that the picture was there, but we did change it, and he did. When we first moved to Germany from the UK, he got so many interviews with this CV, yeah? But he did make a mistake, and I told him off. I said, you've got no excuse because of of what I do, and you've been doing this. So at one point, he had a bit of bad luck. The company went, I was pregnant at the time, the company, at the wrong time, everything goes wrong. The company went bust. Yeah, they laid staff off. They made people redundant, and so it was like 2 weeks before I was due to give birth. Yeah, they said goodbye. I was like, oh my god. But anyway, the moral of the story is what he was doing is he was when he did want to go back to work, he was sending his CV off to companies without really looking at the job that he was going for. So he was making a big error. He was just sending a generic CV off to this particular role. So I'll give you an example. He was using a CV which was very high level. Yeah, like I worked in London and I was in charge of 100 million construction projects simultaneously. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, this level. So, but then the job that he was going for wasn't that high level. So they were mismatched. Yeah? He wasn't looking and he wasn't matching the CV to the role. So if you're in a high level and then you try to go to a lower level job, you need to be making sure that you change the CV so it's the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sure.
And he was making that mistake. I had to slap him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I said you should know better. Yeah. So think in terms of what you're doing. So again, it comes back to every CV needs to be adapted to the role. But let me make you feel better. If I was doing your CV, the only thing that would mean is that you would spend 20 minutes of your time adapting that CV to the next position. Right? So it's not as if you've got to spend 2 days or half a day changing it to every role, because let's be honest, none of us has that time. Okay. That's why we just send it off. Okay. So if I was doing somebody's CV, that's what I would say to them is we would create a CV that is close enough as fit to purpose. But I'm being very honest with everybody, you would need to adapt that CV to the role that you're going for each and every time. But if I did it, you would spend maximum of 20 minutes rewording some part of it, maximum. Okay. I also advise people, one of the subjects is that we'll actually talk about CVs in more detail. I'm sure that I've actually done that, but I always recommend that people have 2 CVs, and I'll explain more about that. I think it's in one of the topics next week. I really should know, but you'll get another email, or check the email that I sent today because I've got the rota of what we're discussing. Okay, but one of them will go through it in more detail. Okay, any other questions? Well, it went over. I nearly died by the umbrella, but I thank you so much for coming. It's been my pleasure. Feel free to reach out if you want to speak to me one-to-one. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
you for your time.
Not a problem. Everybody take care and stay inside. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully that was useful. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
If I can figure out how to do it.